Hey everyone, welcome to Taqueando. I'm your host, Bill Esparza. And this week on the podcast, Gustavo Arellano, columnist at LA Times, is joining me. And we're going to be talking about the continued ICE raids that are affecting Latinos, specifically Mexicans, Central Americans, and indigenous people in Los Angeles. And of course, during this time, as vendors are in hiding, restaurants have closed, taquerias are closing. There's not a lot of food out there on the streets, but I did my best this week to, find places that are still open so I could support anyone in the community. And Gustavo and I are going to be talking about this. So we're going to talk a little bit about some food before we get into the main topic here, which is what is the responsibility of media influencers, specifically Latinos in social media? Gustavo, welcome to the podcast.
Bill, what's up?
Hey, for you, I'm wearing my grandfather's guayabera.
Oh my God. I love the collar on it. You could tell it's an older school one because it's a little bit wider lapels.
It's totally old school.
That's beautiful, man.
Yes, my grandfather from Aguascalientes, we're vecinos. Your family's from Zacatecas and right next door, Aguascalientes. So you're a guayabera man. So this is for you, buddy.
God bless you. I'm just wearing a KCRW t-shirt right now.
Yeah, I thought maybe today we might have the double guayabera action, but
We obviously did not exchange notes beforehand.
did not, of course. That's the way we do it, right? Just show up and go.
Do it. Hacerlo. Work with an E.
Okay, a ver. So I don't know about you, but I've been looking for places to eat this week that anybody I can support. Specifically, all restaurants are being affected by this. All restaurants are. I mean, I've said on the podcast before, every restaurant's a French kitchen, but it's also a Latino kitchen because the chefs, the cooks, the dishwashers, all the back of house people are people.
Yeah, it's especially LA. It is such a Latino city, especially when it comes to the restaurant industry. It is the economy. My good friend Ben Vasquez, he's a Santana council member, and he remembers working at. He learned how to speak a little bit of Yiddish working at a Jewish bakery. No, it was a deli in the San Fernando Valley in the 90s. So you have a Chicano, even back then, learning Yiddish, working in the Valley. And he ended up becoming friends with a guy who used to run a great restaurant in Orange County that no longer exists, Mark McDonald from Old Vine Cafe. So look, like, you have to support all good restaurants, of course, but now more than ever, you
Yes.
have to support the ones that are directly impacted, the ones that have closed down, the ones that are right there on the front lines, the ones that are standing up and putting out messages, standing in solidarity with the undocumented folks who are experiencing fear at Trump's raids, and also speak up against this administration that thinks that, oh yeah, well, we could raid our way into popularity, we could raid our way into prosperity, and just not care at all, and more importantly, declare an unofficial war against Los Angeles and everything that we stand for, and now threatening to go to bigger cities.
Right. And doubling down after the largest protest in American history. That's wild, I mean, the moratorium march helped end the Vietnam War, and this guy is going even harder and threatening Los Angeles. It's a terror campaign, and I've been talking to friends that are not just people I've written about, but people who I've been to quinceañeras of theirs. I've been invited over for birthday parties over the years. People are in hiding and they're terrified. And so I was driving through South Central, and I just couldn't believe. I was actually visiting an undocumented friend that, can't leave their house. So I went to go visit this friend. And I'm also encouraging anyone else who has a friend who's undocumented to go see them at their house. Please don't ask them to leave. But on the way back, everything was closed, even Tacos Los Huichos. And I've never, ever seen in the evening that stand not be right there under the 110. And so I drove back to Hollywood. And of course, Hollywood's not really been touched. So I went to Tacos Leo's Tacos, and had myself a gringa. And, I don't actually go there a lot because I'm always out running in other neighborhoods to go work. But that night, I just needed to support anyone who was open. As you know, Leo's Tacos is indigenous Mije. owned,
Mm-hmm.
and very solid al pastor, one of the better ones in the city. And that kind of gave me a lot of comfort that night. It was nice to see people relaxed eating and not, you know, jittery or not showing up. It seemed like a normal night in that part of Los Angeles.
Yeah, have peace for at least a couple of bites, you know?
Right, exactly. And and so even making the rounds, I there was a Guatemalan man selling tamales at the Smart and Final in Hollywood, and I didn't even want tamales or need them at the moment. I just bought some tamales, and that they were actually very good. And then I also stopped by Moosecraft for their tacos de cabeza. It's a special that they have. They're also, just like other restaurants, they're down. Their numbers are down right now because of all the activity between the protests and the raids. And finally, I went to Cielito Lindo, which is an old favorite of both of us.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been writing about Cielito Lindo forever.
Oh yeah. I've been going since I was a kid. Just your simple I'm always very simple. I just get my dos taquitos, the avocado salsa, my horchata, ice tuvo. You need nothing else. And it is just such a essential foundation of not just Mexican food in Los Angeles, but of Angelino food. It's on the same level as your Musso and Frank, as your Dupar, as all the other restaurants that writers properly, I would say, mythologize, and it becomes part of the soundtrack of Los Angeles. That's Cielito Lindo right there. And I just texted with my friend, you know him, Joe Bautista, man with an appetite,
Yes.
and he said, and he actually just right before this, he put up on his stories. He was there, went to Cielito Lindo, and he said, the cooks are telling me business is down 70%. That is just a tragedy. And these are people who, again, gosh, the puesto's been there now almost 100 years. It's now in its 90, it was what, 31 or so? So now it's like
Yeah.
92, 93 years old. And if they're suffering, if Cielito Lindo is not safe from the Trump imperium, then what and who is? It's a goddamn shame. And so yeah, anytime I'm in LA in that area, I always stop to get my taquitos there. Always. I was just there like 3 weeks ago, actually. Yeah, yeah, because I met someone. Oh, I took my cousin up to what's it called? Evangeline, that New Orleans style bar.
Yeah.
Not within walking distance. I'm like, I picked him up at Union Station, but I parked for a little bit. I'm like, let me get my taquitos y ice tuvo.
Right. So yes, I mean, it is to me, I've argued this before, and people in Mexico will get all upset. Like that's our version of mole,
Yeah.
because you're eating the sauce, right? It's not I understand it's not a mole, but to me, it's like the closest thing to a Chicano style mole,
Mhm.
this Mexican American dish. I actually do combo number one always. I get the beans with the taquitos. And have you ever tried it with the salsa picante?
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's actually spicy. I've never
Sipica.
ordered it in all this time, but I went there coming back from the protests, from the No King's Day protests in downtown LA,
Nice.
part of what was the largest protest in US history. A lot of people are showing up for us, right? And it felt good. The metro station was closed at Grand Park, so I walked over to Union Station. People were still, where they had their flags and signs, and they were cooling down. People were in line that day for Cielito Lindo and Anita's. Right, it's Anita's, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Right across the way, also owned by Cielito Lindo, the family. And I was eating these taquitos, and looking down, I mean, my mind has been occupied, as yours and a lot of us, about what's been going on and how this is just inhumane. It's terrifying. A lot of people aren't seeing all these things that you and I are seeing, so they don't understand. They're still talking about policies like, oh, coming over the right way. And I'm like, do you not see what's going on? It's like an invasion of a foreign army.
Literally.
And it's, forget about, I don't even want to think about anything else but the inhumanity and the separation of families. But on top of that, all Angelinos are being affected economically. We know that. So I found comfort in Mexican American culture, looking down at my plate, the combo number one, the taquitos plate with beans, taquitos, the salsa de aguacate, and that picante, which I think is my new move. And I thought about, this is nice, right? You and I have been celebrating our culture for years. We also highlight all kinds of Latino cultures, Central American, South American, Caribbean Latinos, and all parts of Mexico. And it's great to celebrate our heritage, but who gives a fuck if you can't stand up when our people are being yanked off the streets?
Damn. You have to put it that way, man. That's true, though. It is absolutely true. Look, it's so easy to enjoy our food, and you should. Mexican food is magnificent. Latino food is magnificent. Give me I mean, you talk about what you ate this past week. Last week, I was up I had to meet a friend, and so I told them, hey, let's go get baleadas from this awesome truck called La Troca Catracha, which you were the one who wrote about it first. And
Yeah.
it's no longer on Wilshire. It moved up to Vermont and Beverly. I called in advance because I remember like a month and a half ago, I passed through Wilshire during the day and it wasn't there. So I'm like, oh, I hope they didn't move. And they're like, they told me that they moved up to Glendale because the Honduran consulate moved up there. But apparently the city was hassling them so much. They're like, you know what? We're just going to move back to LA where they'll leave us alone. So they're there on Vermont and Beverly. And I got my usual order of baleada with chorizo, Honduran style chorizo, which is soft and sweet. And then one of the great sodas of the universe, a Tropical banana.
It's amazing.
They don't have the tall boy anymore, sadly, but still, it was just so awesome. And, this is the week, right? Like, this was the week when the raid on Ambiance happened in the garment district
Right.
that kicked all of this off. So it was just like this peace. Like, you almost delude yourself in Los Angeles that everything's cool, everything's great. And then you forget for a moment that people despise Los Angeles. I'm, of course, from Orange County. I
Yeah.
almost was gonna say us, but you know what? I cover LA, so
Right.
I do see myself as a part of the LA fabric, definitely a champion of LA. And so that's what we're seeing now. So everyone has to step up in their own way. And look, everyone has their own way of stepping up. Like,
Yes.
I have all these books around me. In front of me is the whole Chicano section. And somewhere, actually, it's down there. I know exactly where it is. It was this collection of, it was a guy, what was his name? But he did like these interviews with poets, with authors, like amazing, amazing collection of interviews. So he interviewed Rodolfo Anaya, the author of Bless Mi Ultima, and he said, like, does every Chicano have to be political all the time? And Rodolfo, who was a great chronicler of New Mexico life, he said, no, everyone has to play their part, though. So if
Yeah.
you want to be a poet and talk about the beauty in the world, yeah, do that. But like, it has to connect back to Chicanismo. So some people are going to be marching out on the street. Some people are going to be like putting themselves out there, getting arrested in acts of civil disobedience. You get to write and also do this podcast. I get to write and also appear on podcasts and try to explain things are going on it. But if you do nothing, that's when or if you do nothing, or
Right.
better yet, if you pretend like nothing is happening and your community and the people that you supposedly champion are hurting, that's when I have a problem.
Yeah. We understand that there are, nuances and layers to this. To me, this is sort of like this Latinos for Trump moment that a lot of us are looking at the people who voted and literally voted for what's happening to us right now. We've seen what's happening. There's a lot of mockery going on about Cubans and Venezuelans being deported when we know that they voted for in large for Trump, the ones that could vote. And the whole Latinos for Trump came from that part of the United States. So now we see all these regret, these buyer's remorse posts about it. That's sort of, I feel like, the conversation we're sort of having about, stepping up right now. But like all the food influencers and people that cook Mexican food in LA, surprisingly are pretty quiet. I mean, I saw a whole block of white Americans. I want to say it was in Massachusetts or something, literally fighting ICE from keeping these two people from being deported. When I see that and I see a guy that, or a woman that has, always leans into their heritage, I grew up with this. I'm from Jalisco. My mom always put something on a tortilla when I was a kid. You know me, I always have to get the pupusas, right? You know, that those types of influencers. And so they're actually charging the vendors that are hiding,
Shameful.
and where it's really a win-win relationship. These vendors, these influencers that really have made their name by covering all the cool taco spots, they've grown with the vendors. You know, the vendors have also, they make them look good as well, because if you're the influencer that goes all to all the best taco spots, you're the cool influencer, right? And so, like, I see everyone wants to talk about growing up in a Latino home, but I don't know why you're not showing up for what's going on right now, which is not just deportations. This is violence, it's attacks, it's kidnapping, you know, it's breaking the law, it's going against all legal immigration. People are being ripped out of their court hearings, people are being taken to other states where they can't reach their lawyers. I expected a lot more. So I did see a few. Mr. Biggs, shout out to Mr. Biggs, who's been posting not just on stories, but also on his Instagram. He's got a lot of followers. Latina Foodie, you saw Latina Foodie too, right?
I did. Yeah, yeah. You see, I live blissfully unaware of the world of influencers because I barely use Instagram. Well, I don't use TikTok. That's number
Yeah.
one. Although I finally joined so I could anoint myself the loquat king, and I'm only going to use TikTok to talk about loquats. That's literally it.
You're going to be the loquat influencer.
Yeah, I'm a loquat influencer. I know. That's the type of person I am. Instagram, I only really use for my Instagram lives ever since what was it, in 2022, Instagram took down a post of mine. All it was a picture of La Virgen de Guadalupe, an altar to La Virgen de Guadalupe, and they took it down because they said it promoted violence and hate speech. So I really don't follow that many people.
Yeah.
And influencers in general, I just see it's like, oh, it's pay to play and call me. Oh, I get it. They're doing their hustle. I totally get it. And if they're promoting people, well, good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, we're not. That's their job, right?
But yeah, but like I'm old school. So me as a reporter, of course I would never charge anyone to do that. All of that said, if your game is to hype people, if your game is to celebrate your culture, then you, especially more. I mean, I'm a columnist, so I'm allowed to have opinions, but my colleagues who are reporters, they're supposed to be objective about it. And they are. They're absolutely objective about it. But if your game as an influencer is to hype, then you better be hyping these people right now at their moment of hurt. And if you're not doing that, you're shameful and shame on you. And you probably don't have, you're probably a sinvergüenza. So get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There are reporters that have to be careful, like, and there are publications and organizations. You know, right now, organizations are the government's targeting organizations, and
Horrible.
right. So, like, they're really trying to silence dissent. Now, I also understand, you know, Mexican chefs that are Mexican nationals. We're not seeing them either, but it's not their country. And if they ever want to come here, they can't be doing political things. Just like you and I wouldn't be doing all these anti shine bomb shine bomb posts because when we're going to go visit Mexico, it's not our country.
Yeah.
It's you and I can't show up to a rally in the Zocalo against Mexico. That's really being a bad tourist. So I don't expect the famous chefs to be there. I do expect these other people. You know, Patti Rodriguez, always, that woman never misses.
Always.
She is down for everybody. She's down for any kind of injustice. You know, Yarel Ramos, a local reporter, also gives her opinion.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she's also allowed to, you know, to care about her community. What I'm blown away by is that Mr. Tempo even did it.
Oh, God bless you, man. Brea's finest. Brea's finest.
Right. And now Mr. Tempo did put him waving a Mexican flag. He did get a little pushback from the sort of, you know, they should do it legally people. And he did do an apology post.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, he did. But he still, you know, said he's against these deportations. He's got a huge platform.
Of course.
And of course, the one that I was sort of watching was Mario Lopez. Now,
Huh.
Mario Lopez has been getting heat because he did appear walking behind Donald Trump. He was doing some interview where he said he was with Dana Cook. He wasn't with Trump. which is okay, fine. But he was walking at a UFC match recently,
Yeah,
and
one
everybody
of
saw
those.
him, and a lot of people were not happy with that because Mario is, and I know Mario a little bit. I've done a video with him, and I also was on his show to promote the History Channel show that I was on, the food that made America.
Yeah.
I like Mario. I've had good interactions with him, but the public was just like, "Hey, man, you're always doing these videos and talking about how you're Mexican now, and now you're not showing up." But Mario, who's definitely a Trump supporter, he's definitely Republican. He actually finally posted after 3 days of not posting anything on his social media. So he also came through, and so to me, it's like, you know what? This is it. I mean, you can be a Republican, you can be a MAGA person, you can be a Democrat, you can be a liberal, you can be a centrist, and understand that this is inhumane and this is not what America is about. It's not what a civilized country does.
Look, when Mario Lopez is speaking out against this, we've reached a new level. When Alex Padilla,
Right,
the nicest guy, the U.S. Senator of California, when Alex Padilla is showing up and crashing a press conference to ask questions of the Trump administration, only to get forced down to the ground by FBI agents. When it's Alex Padilla, not anyone else and nothing against other California politicians who haven't had that chance, but when
right.
it's Alex Padilla being moved by that, we are at a new level of people waking the hell up and not being afraid, because the Trump administration does want to crush dissent, does want to silence and terrify everyone. And people are standing up. People with como se dice?
Yes,
Oh geez, what's that word? Privilege. People with privilege are standing up. If you do not have the privilege, of course not. I mean, your friend who's undocumented and staying at home, the vendors who are not showing up. I'm down here in Santana, and like off of Main near 17th, there's a chase, and all these taqueros, loncheras to be specific, they all line up there. It's been completely empty now for a week. My favorite lonchera was gone for 3 days. A frutero, Mr. Diablito, who's been in downtown Santana for 30 years. He is shut down. But my wife, from Alta Baja Market in downtown Santana, she's selling the fruit of Mr. Diablito because she has a privilege to be able to do that. So if you have privilege, you do have to step up. If you don't, it's disgusting.
yeah, and I'm in total agreement with that. And honestly, I look at somebody like Mario, who really had more to lose than any of these other influencers, because I figure,
Yeah.
because he's been overtly political on some things. He's had to remove posts before, but if Mario can come through, man, you know, and you are not out there being, wearing a red hat, and you're just not political, it's a great time to at least bring some kind of awareness. I've seen a little bit of that. People playing around, they're like, "Oh, today I'm celebrating my Latino heritage." I'm like, okay, that's better, I guess, than nothing, but it doesn't really quite match the fervor of the government.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of, you and I have been writing about a lot of non-Latinos, white chefs, other chefs, Asian chefs, other non-Latino chefs that do Mexican food and have benefited from that culture, and a lot of them are activists, and they're also pretty quiet right now. So I kind of feel like, besides all the wonderful people that are fighting in the streets, the people that are showing up to protest, we really need people that have broad messages. And one person comes to mind is an old familiar face that we've talked about before.
Uh-oh. I think I know who you're gonna say.
But first, a reminder that Taqueando is powered by the Acquired Taste Media Network. Be sure to tune into our sister podcast, the LA Food Podcast. This week, Luca is breaking down the essential takeaways from Monday's James Beard Awards. Plus, he interviews the owners of Melrose Hill hotspot Etra on finding success amid turbulent times for LA restaurants. That drops on Friday. And without further ado, vamos a taquear. As far as I know, there's only one chef that cooks. I'm not going to call him a Mexican chef. one chef that cooks Mexican food that's ever cooked for a president. He cooked for Obama.
Oh,
That's
that's Rick Bayless.
Chef Rick Bayless. Okay. I have to say, there's a lot of people out there that are going to say, oh, these Rick Bayless haters.
These Mexicans, these jealous Mexicans.
They're right. They're against him. They're haters. But you know what? We like Rick Bayless more than Skip Bayless does. That was cold. That wasn't all right. That was cold. But you know what? Under the circumstances, we're going to keep that.
Fucking ice.
That's right. That was ice cold.
That was ice cold, man.
Yes. So Rick Bayless, you and I have this history. You, myself, and the late Jonathan Gold. So in 2010, on my old blog, I wrote a very, very, I'm going to say it's a very good takedown. Would you agree it's a pretty good takedown?
Withering. It's better than good. It's withering.
Withering takedown. You heard it, folks. Withering. Of his restaurant Red O, when he was I want to say he was the executive chef or consulting chef.
Consulting chef.
And so, the reason I did it at the time was he had insulted Mexican food in Los Angeles. He said that LA had tacos and burritos, and that's fine. He goes, but I'm bringing Southern Mexican food. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? The second largest Oaxacan city on earth, and you're bringing Southern Mexican. So, I did this withering takedown of his restaurant based on my dining experience. While I did use hyperbole and was aggressive, I think Jonathan Gold called me Maoist in my, the way I was addressing Mexican food in the article. But the, it was based on what I experienced as a diner having his food at Red O.
You said that the oysters were not Baja, they were Long Beach.
I think they were mussels.
Mussels, yeah. One of the shellfish.
They did not taste very good, and they didn't have that pop of a really, a wonderful mussel dish. Yeah, I think they said they tasted more like Long Beach Pier or something like that.
Now, again, withering. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that was over the top, I'll admit, but it was necessary at the time. Now, something happened after I wrote this thing that involved you.
Yeah, no, I was at. Well, it was a meeting for the California Chicano News Media Association.
Yeah.
The original location of Marché Moderne in South Coast Plaza, now occupied by Knife Fleet, which is an absolutely amazing restaurant, Michelin starred. Go check it out. And so Jonathan was there, and he admitted, he's like, I kind of don't know what I'm doing here, talking about food, and it was I think it was like in honor of Ruben Salazar, and then because he started talking about Ruben Salazar, it's like the martyred
right
LA Times columnist who got killed by a tear gas canister shot to his head by an LA County sheriff's deputy in 1970 during the Chicano moratorium.
Right.
But he then starts talking because Jonathan was such a great speaker along with the writer. And he said, look, like we associate Ruben with radical Chicano politics and his columns were great. This was actually a gourmand as well. He loved a good French wine. He loved French food. He lived in Orange County, actually,
yes,
in the richer part of Santana, closer to what's called the South Coast metro area. And then he starts mentioning Rick Bayless, and he says, like, yeah, his food's fine, but this idea that like he's gonna bring authentic flavors to to Los Angeles, it just seems a little bit silly.
right.
And so he said something, he made a joke, and I just wrote about it. For me, I'm like, oh, cool. Like he's talking about Rick Bayless. And I didn't know, by the way, that I had not read your piece yet. I had read you before, but I had not read that particular piece yet. I didn't know that about this Red O and all of that. So I just post this innocuous
right
blog post for the OC Weekly, the newspaper that I used to edit, just saying, oh yeah, by the way, this is what Jonathan, hey, and I went there more because like, oh, cool, Jonathan Gold's in LA and he's giving a little speech. And then I remember on a Sunday, I just start getting all these hate messages.
Right.
All these comments. Back when blogs used to have comments, unfiltered comments. And the first person there was like Rick Bayless. And I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, oh, I guess they give Pulitzers for lying or something like that.
Yeah, it was on Twitter.
Okay.
He called out Rick Bayless attacked Jonathan Gold on Twitter. You and I were in the arguments in the comment section with all these people fighting for like a week.
Yeah,
I
well, no,
remember.
but so Rick Bayless left a comment there as well
Okay.
on the blog post, and I thought like, "Oh, it has to be fake." Like, we
Right.
always get celebrities, yeah, right. So I tracked the URL, and it was directly to Chicago, and then that's when I noticed that he tweeted out my story, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And so yeah, it made national news.
Right.
And then that's when I met you via online because you were getting in there and you said, "Hey, by the way, did you see this clip that he gave to NBC4 where he said, like, they asked him, why are you coming to LA? It's like, oh, I just thought it would be interesting to see how the authentic flavors of Mexico would play out in LA. And I'm like, who the hell are you? Of course, I knew who Rick Bayless was. But even me as an Orange County guy, I mean, look, I wrote a book, Taco USA How Mexican Food Conquered America. So I know the power of Mexican food, the regionality of Mexican food in Los Angeles, because it's also the same in Orange County. We once did a food issue, and I think it was what 24 of the 33 states in Orange of Mexico were represented in Orange County, and that's Orange County, which is supposed to be white and is not nearly as Latino
Right.
as Los Angeles. So for him to come in like a fucking colonizer to say, yeah, I'm going to teach you Mexicans here what quote unquote real Mexican food is. Give me a goddamn break.
Yeah.
And his food sucked, by the way. No, his food was whatever. Yeah, when I went with my former food critic, Edwin Goey, and of course, no one knows who he looks like.
Right.
So I had the stuff. I remember, I think he did like a yellowtail aguachile. I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? This is not working.
His food's tired. It's weird how he's always so passively insulting of Mexican cooks and other people that cook Mexican food and even the whole culture. But and then of course after all that, yes, I agree with you. I mean, that was what I experienced at Red O. Is it like, oh my gosh, this is not even it, right? We already have better. We have stuff much better than this here. But then Jonathan Gold put the nail in the coffin. I mean,
Yeah.
he wrote one of his rare negative reviews. It wasn't overtly negative, but he basically said he agreed with a lot of what I wrote in my blog, and he kind of gave Rick a mixed thing. He liked certain things, but Jonathan Gold almost never wrote negative reviews. So I would count this as one of right up there with
Olive Garden.
Olive Garden, and then David Chang's Major Domo, uh, Olive Garden, and making fun of Mission burritos, comparing them to other the burritos in Southern California. So that was kind of the final. The three of us sort of were like the three musketeers defending the Southern Mexican cuisine of Los Angeles. And so, Rick Bayless, over the years, he doesn't like us. He blocked me on Twitter.
Damn.
But guess what, man? When I started this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and our first episode was with Enrique Olvera, Chef Enrique Olvera,
With Enrique, yeah.
Rick Bayless started following me and the podcast.
Interesting. What's up, Rick?
Interesting. I don't think it was him. It must be his people. And like they didn't tell him like, hey, it's this guy. But over the decades, Rick has continued to be this way. He's continued. I want to say that while there are episodes out there and moments of cultural appropriation, to me, over the course of, the time I've been in journalism, the only person that consistently, strongly, proudly is a cultural appropriator is Rick Bayless when it comes to Mexican food.
Mm.
I can't think of anybody else that really goes to the length that he does. I mean, he's also, he's profited a lot. He sold his Frontera Foods line, chips and salsas. He was able to get in really early. He opened a restaurant. He will talk in interviews about his struggles, but he was able to open a Mexican restaurant, start a television show, start a book from the get-go with having zero experience cooking Mexican food, And so he really did have a privileged position. And he's cooked at the White House. He gets to go out and diss Mexican food in LA. He did it again in San Francisco, saying that they didn't have great traditions there, that
Oh,
not the food that he's used to seeing in Mexico. You remember that, right?
No, I so have blocked him out after that because I liked Rick. I had been to his restaurants in Chicago. I thought they were fine. I thought that it was important for anyone to promote some of these regional styles. And the entire and I wanted to interview him for my book, but the entire
Right.
episode was just so pathetic. I'm like, dude, that's who you are? Really? You're someone who probably the money that you could find on your couch right now is probably more money than I could ever make in my lifetime. And you're gonna be so petty as to care what some rando in Orange County wrote when documenting a food legend like Jonathan Golden has to say about your restaurant. Like, give me a goddamn break.
Yeah. I mean, it's right. It's crazy. You know, well, I have archived and collected a bunch of interviews of his because I think a lot of people don't understand when they talk about Rick Bayless, they just think of him, oh, he's a guy that cooks, he researches and he cooks Mexican food.
He's an anthropologist by training.
And you know what? If they actually watched his interviews, they'd realize he's not
Yeah,
an anthropologist, you know? And so I've dug into these things a little bit. And what's weird is that he talks about mole all the time, but yet doesn't really understand it. That's beside the point. And I could go on another hour about that. He does understand that it comes from families, but he doesn't understand the evolution of that. He thinks because it's got European ingredients, it's not an indigenous dish. He argued that with somebody that was Mexican. I'm like, you're arguing with indigenous people in Mexico about this dish that's been around, that was created by indigenous people that were so smart. They made corn, they invented corn, they invented nixtamal, a
mm-hmm.
super advanced technique, and and made this incredible healthy cuisine. And they had mole. They were making things with chiles. And there's moles all over Mexico that are very simple, 4 ingredients, 5 ingredients. You know, he only thinks about mole poblano and mole negro oaxaqueño, and he's like, oh, it has 50 ingredients. Like, dude, those are a couple of moles. There's hundreds, and they are more original. Some are thickened with corn. They're not thickened with
Bread.
bread.
Yeah.
They're very original, and he can't understand that. How does a guy that's supposed to be an anthropologist not understand that? And he said this about himself in this interview show in Chicago. I think it's incredibly strange with the enormous Mexican population that we have in this country that there's no one that stepped forward. He means like himself, and done this kind of stuff. And he was talking about these cooks that taught him, but he never mentions their names.
Of course.
And he's looked over their shoulders. He's stared at their hands. He's stared at their ingredients. And he said this on this show. It was crazy. He said, I'd gladly step aside if someone would step up.
Yeah.
Can you believe? So I'm saying there's more to him. And when we criticized him, he said, well, I hope that these people, and he did, I couldn't find that interview. He did say I think these Mexican American guys, he was talking about you and me, have a chip on their shoulder, and he accused us of reverse racism, which is crazy.
Really? I do not know any of that.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen that. And then, he said, well, if they were to ask me, I talk about my passion for the food. And I'm like, okay, Rick Bayless definitely has passion for Mexican food. There's no doubt about that. I would say that more than a passion, he fetishizes Mexican food.
Yeah.
He's really interested in anything that's exotic and different. He thinks that that's what makes his restaurant special. Our Cielito Lindo is lame to him. He's more interested in something that's from this little village in Chiapas that has nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
And he's going to steal that. And then that's going to be more interesting than, this Mexican American food or something in the north.
It's the same elitism of Diana Kennedy and the fresas of a previous generation in Mexico,
Right.
that the Mexican in the United States, the so-called Mexican American, the Chicano, that were somehow lesser than Mexicans in Mexico. I've always embraced the idea of Americo Paredes saying,
Right.
Mexico profundo, greater Mexico. Like the border, remember folks,
Right.
borders are arbitrary constructions done by humans. culture goes across borders, and so to
Yes.
insult the food of Mexican Americans, it's just a fool's game. And like now, are some foods better than other foods? Of course, 1000%. Some foods are going to be better than other foods, but it's all part of the grand scheme of Mexican food. And Rick, it's one of those conversations like, okay, I'll step down when someone else steps up.
Right.
How many people could easily step up but does not have the privilege of someone like Rick? You don't think a Carlos Salgado could have done it? You don't think este yeah, they did it. But they didn't get the book deals. They didn't get the book deals. They didn't get the television shows. Wes Avila didn't get the television shows. None of these guys got it because they didn't know the right people. And the bigger sin, they were Mexican Americans. And like in the schemata of the United States, a white man, a gaba doing Mexican food it has to know more about it than a Mexican American, because a Mexican American is not the real thing and is going to have some biases. But the white guy, of course, because he's coming at this objectively. He's coming into this with passion. Oh, that word passion.
Right.
Excuses everything.
Right. But never passion for the people. This is stealing. When you sit there and you look over someone's shoulder while they're cooking, and then you write notes and you take it and you go write a recipe, and then you say it's yours, you have stolen, and you're not even man enough to credit that person. But I think right now, my problem is, okay, you've slammed Mexican American food. You've told us that no one does regional food like you. Your food is boring. Your food is dated. Some of the plates at Topolobampo and Frontera look like culinary school level plating.
No, props from this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's props from the film Tortilla Soup.
Right. It's exactly. And so this is not even, it's not cutting edge in any kind of way. But that's really not the problem, Rick. Rick can cook Mexican food. Obviously he does. So if anyone wants to have that conversation, like, well, why can't he cook? He does cook it. He makes it. He makes more money than any other Mexican. And he also is in this position right now with all this going on. Why isn't Rick Bayless there for us when he's so everything about him, everything about his identity is Mexican?
Let's try to be gracious for a second
Okay.
and say this. Okay, these big raids have been happening on Los Angeles. Rick, his Redos are no longer here.
Yes.
So for Rick to not be saying things, he should, given that, his platform, he absolutely should. Now,
The president mentioned Chicago.
that was just what I was about to say. So that was over the past week that we have been
Right.
seeing this occupation of Los Angeles and Santana and Paramount and other Long Beach and other federal buildings. Now, today, the day we're recording this podcast, actually late Sunday night, and we're talking about it today, Trump said, oh, we're going to continue these mass raids and we're going to focus specifically on sanctuary cities. But then he called out by name Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. If Rick is not already stepping up by at least, he'll have 24 hours. So by Tuesday morning, if I'm not seeing a post by Rick saying the president has challenged not his hometown, because let's not forget, he's from Oklahoma City or from that region.
Yes.
My adopted hometown of Chicago, he is threatening us. I am standing up for my adopted hometown, Chicago. That is the absolute least he could do, and I could forgive his silence so much. So you're not going to step up for LA? Fine. You're out in Chicago. You're probably not paying attention to LA after we treated you, after we fuera out of you of town, le dimos la porra, vete a la fregada, or ALV for the Chicanos who love to say that acronym. At least stand up for Chicago, and then from there, stand up for everyone else. And I'll forgive the
Yeah.
rest of it. I really will. I really will. I really will.
That's very gracious.
I try to be gracious.
I don't know. I think I could possibly overlook decades of just not giving credit to Mexicans and not being polite to Mexican Americans, not respecting other people the actual Mexicans that cook Mexican food. I don't know if I could overlook that fully, but if he were to use this platform to do this. Now, again, I think he has the biggest national platform when it comes to people who cook Mexican food. There are other celebrity chefs that are Mexican.
Yeah, Pati Ginich, yeah.
Right. And some of them again are bound by the fact that they're part of a network. I actually haven't looked at Pati, but and she's going to be on our show, but she's on PBS.
She's always great. She's always great, though.
So she's doing her part in so many other ways, you know. And Eva Longoria, she's not a chef, but Eva Longoria spoke up and has been speaking up, and you know, people have criticized some of these celebrities too because of their ties to other people that are close to Trump. But the fact is, they're out there speaking up. You know, Aarón Sánchez is a big brand ambassador.
Huge.
Like, and honestly, he's about the only brown Mexican, the only Mexican that's allowed at all these events. So I think for someone like him, it's a little, I mean, it's not like we have 20 chefs out there doing this, right? And so I do see Claudia Cepeda also put something on
I saw that, yeah.
her Instagram, but you know, they're not able to, these, I'm not speaking for them. I'm just saying that they're doing what they feel is right, given the fact that they are on television and they are on these platforms. But Rick Bayless is white. He actually has a majority white audience, and he has the national audience. And he's had it for decades. He doesn't just, and he also has more success than just about any of the people I mentioned, except for Eva Longoria. Financially, Rick Bayless, I mean, I don't get it. I honestly, I don't get why he's still on YouTube trying to just continue to occupy every space with his Mexican food, right? But he doesn't seem to be willing at this point to give any of that up to speak out for the people that he learned from, the people whose recipes he took, the people whose recipes he asked for, the people that have taught him, that he says that taught him, the culture that has really given him an identity. What is Rick Bayless without Mexican food?
The brother of Skip Bayless.
He would be the brother of Skip Bayless working in the barbecue back home that nobody ever heard of.
Savage. Ice cold.
Yeah, and you know, without the money and all the TV shows. So like, man, you have had so much Mexican food, Mexican people. Forget Mexican food. Mexican people have given Rick Bayless so much. Mexican people, the vendors, have given Latino influencers so much. And again, this isn't about your position on immigration. This is your position as a human being. And as a human being who benefits from the very culture that's being attacked.
I mean, look, when I was at the protest in Santana last Monday, the big one, there was like 600 people. And I was talking to people that they said, I have no problem with Trump deporting violent criminals. And I actually think some of the people I talked to were closet Trump supporters. I was
Yeah,
going to
they were.
ask. But okay, there you go.
Latinos for
But it
Trump.
was, yeah. Oh, I mean, I did a whole bunch of writings about them forever now. But those people also said, what's happening right now is not that. They are rounding up parents, they are splitting apart families. And so a lot of people that I interviewed at the protest, it
Yeah.
was the first ever time that had ever been to a protest. Again, when Mario Lopez is waking up and decrying, you're like, and look, you could support Trump. If you voted for Trump, I still won't hate you. I absolutely won't hate you because everyone's going to be different. And to me, you're more than just your, who you voted for.
People are free to vote. People vote the way they want to vote.
If you cannot see that what's going on is inhumane and frankly detrimental. My most recent columna is about how study after study for decades, we're talking about economists, we're talking about all of
Yeah.
that stuff. They have shown that mass deportations not only do not work because they come back one way or another, but the wages of citizens, unemployment goes up for citizens, wages go down when this happens. So why are these raids continuing at all? It's because they terrorize, and that's the whole point. But even Trump knows that deportations don't work.
Right.
His message I sent out a message last week saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to put a pause on raids at restaurants, hotels, and agriculture because no one knows why." I mean, New York Times reported that his agricultural secretary told him, "Hey, you can't do this because I'm hearing from folks and they are furious at this."
Right.
He knows deportations are detrimental to this economy, to this country. It is people like Stephen Miller who only know hate that are whispering in his ear to do these freaking just scorched earth campaigns against families against this
Right.
and to target LA. This is the most important thing to note to people. He could have easily and I'm not playing devil's advocate on
You're right.
this because I do not support these raids at all.
There is no other side to that. There is no other
No.
side.
But if Trump and his people were smart, they would have started off with these raids in small towns where you do not have the political infrastructure like Los Angeles. They would have started off in Florida, where the vast majority of the people who came in under Biden, all those Venezolanos who supported Trump and others, because you would not have had the resistance. You would no, but they had to go after Los Angeles because it is Mexican, it is Salvadoran, it is Guatemalan, it is like the whole diaspora, and we are proud of our immigrants. We are proud of our street vendors. So they wanted to make an example out of us, and they do not care what the cost is. They don't care if they're superseding the Constitution about this. We had to be made an example of, and of course, LA was not going to
Yeah.
take it lightly, and here we are.
And yeah, I mean, and what kind of leader and what kind of country declares war on its biggest economy? The state that has the biggest economy and the city in that state that has a massive economy after wildfires and the pandemic. Who does that? That I've never heard of that anywhere on earth. No matter how stupid a country is, they haven't done that. But the thing about that, the other thing, Gustavo, is why not just do deportations of actual criminals? But the reason is, and you know this, is they couldn't do mass deportations and do that because that would require warrants and that would require an actual targeted assault of individuals rather than just scooping a guy selling flowers on the corner, knocking an old man off his bike and checking his ID, just walking through, a swap meet with a full squadron. So that they can get close to, well, it's terror. They're still not going to achieve mass deportation, but
No.
a lot of people that are talking, these conversations that people are having, like you said, you secretly thought that person was a Trump supporter, is anyone who's talking to me about immigration policy or why they should do it legally, or they're talking to me about all these other things, or waving flags, waving Mexican flags. Like, okay, like you are listening to some kind of radio station that's putting these things in your head, and these rage machines that have distracted you from, and like, can't you just watch 5 videos of people being taken off the street to figure it out for yourself, that's what we're talking about? You cannot hold someone underwater and tell them the rules to the pool. You can't do it like that. You got to take your foot off the necks of people, and you got to behave like a civilization, behave like humans. And then if they're really serious about a policy, then let's see the policy. Republicans don't have a policy at all. They are in charge. They are in charge of both houses of Congress. They have the presidency. They have the Supreme Court. And they don't have a policy that addresses any of this. And
They don't have a clue.
right. And you and the other people that are talking to us don't know who Stephen Miller is, and they don't know who Thomas Homan is. And so if you're not looking at that and those people and seeing where this is coming from, and you haven't followed the history of all the bills, the reform bills that George W. Bush tried to do, that Reagan tried to do, the one sticking point is always giving the H-2A visas. Bush wanted to do it. He was like, okay, we'll clamp down on the border, but we need to give these H-2A visas to these workers so they can come work. And the Republicans wouldn't do that. Same thing under Reagan and the amnesty word that they hated so much. So there is no will when it comes to H-2A visas on the right because they want to be able to go home to Oklahoma, to Idaho, to wherever and say, we're keeping Mexicans out of the United States and we're keeping those Central Americans out. So as long as they can say that, they can win elections.
Yeah, no, all right. Let's take out all the Mexicans, see all those small towns in the South and the Midwest who have been revitalized by Latino migration, become ghost towns again. Go see your economy completely in
Right.
tatters. Go see your moral standing in the world completely shredded, as if we need more shredding to our moral standing. I it's that old Simpsons quote. I think things are going to get worse before it gets better. But again, that's why I think those of us who have privilege, we need to lean on our privilege as much as possible to be able to help out those who need to help, to be able to call out that which needs to be called out, and to stand strong and not bend the knee, to use another cliche from television. Do not bend the knee.
No. And if you're a chef and you can do anything, even just showing up for a protest, you know, doing something, anything.
Fundraiser.
We need our people. We need our people. We need all of our people. You and I were out there on Saturday. I was marching for the Venezuelans. I was marching for the Cubans who also voted against. I did. I knew this was going to happen to them if Kamala lost, and so I voted for them to stay. I voted for the what's the status that all these Venezuelans just lost?
Oh, TPS, temporary protection,
Yeah,
temporary protected status. Yeah. 500, half a million.
yeah, I voted for Venezuelans to keep their TPS status. I voted for people to be able to go to court and, go through the legal, get here the legal way. I voted for all that, and I knew that we were going to possibly lose that because this guy came in with none of the people that stopped him from doing this in the first term. And Stephen Miller is basically a co-president and certainly gets to do whatever he wants when it comes to immigration policy. Thomas Homan is just like the hammer and
Mhm.
wants to hurt people. And so it's a sadistic campaign.
It's Dune.
Yeah. So if you have a platform and you're going to, show me some stupid birria video with your birria that sucks and, I know it sucks and you're hawking, come on, just it could be you on the streets. If you cannot see that protecting the constitutional rights of undocumented people and the documented people that are being stopped by ICE right now, that could be you. You could be in that swap meet doing your story for your for your $500 you're getting from the swap meet to do a video. It could be you there when the military shows up, and you should be able to see yourself in somebody's 17-year-old kid being sent away, someone's child being deported without their parents, a father, the only breadwinner leaving. One of my favorite vendors was telling me in Moscow, there was a guy that was setting up for ceviche and he got taken as he was leaving his house and his wife doesn't work and he's got kids and he's gone. He was deported the very same day,
Jeez.
and the breadwinner of the family is gone. So now they're gonna lose the house or lose or be evicted for renting. They're not out there shopping, but I don't even care about all that shit. I just want my neighbors to be able to live in a country that's not a failed state. How about that?
Something as simple as that, and something if you have a platform, that's the least you could do. But again, you have to do what you're able to do, from each according to their privilege, to paraphrase the old Communist Manifesto saying. Not that I'm a communist at all, but like everyone needs to pull their weight one way or another. If you do not know,
Yeah,
if you do not do that, shame. You're a chavalex, straight up chavalex.
yeah. We need we need. I mean, come on, Latinos for Trump. We need you guys too right now to recognize the basic, fundamental human. Not people think when we're talking about human rights, we're talking. We know how Some people twist that, but just humanity, basic humanity. It's basic humanity that you don't want to see this and tanks in your neighborhood. And that's it, man. You and I, we're Chicano. We have our culture. As you know, I love going to Mexico. I've been going, my family's from Aguascalientes, but I've visited every Mexican state. It's a wonderful thing to be able to say that this is my culture, whether it's the taquitos at Cielito Lindo or it's, tacos de lechon in Aguascalientes, where my family's from, some of the best tacos de lechon in Mexico. It's wonderful to be able to say that, but it has no meaning if you don't value your neighbors, the cooks, and not just because they feed you or they cook good food or it's delicious or that's a bomb ass taco, but because they're you.
It's not just valuing though. It's about standing up. It's about helping. Valuing is just a value
Yeah.
sentiment. That's a kind of a hollow way of that's a hollow stance if you could do so much more. So stand up, rise up. ¿Cómo se dice? Listos. That's what I would say. Listos? Like ready? Cuz pónganse las pilas. It's time.
All right. So we want to see you guys. We're hoping to see you. Gustavo and I were out there in the streets. We are going to be protesting when
I'll be reporting, but
yes. Well, I mean, you're at the protest right. I actually was just there as a protester. But we're going to cover this too as journalists, and we're going to talk about it. And we're also going to use our platforms, which we've always done, and we're hoping that you guys are there for your community. Well, Gustavo, thanks for being here. I know that you and I feel the same way about this, and it's fun when you and I can have debates, which nobody's been able to see that yet. It's mostly been off mic. We do have spirited debates about food, but we also really agree on this, even though we have different political views. We have different views on, we've had different experiences as Mexican Americans. But
yeah, Bill's more of a wocoso than I am, actually.
Yeah, I'm an old school civil rights era liberal Chicano that's evolved with a lot of the changes that have happened in the generations after me. So, I've always evolved that stance, but I was protesting since the Gulf War.
That's awesome.
And, I'm always down for humanity and, and this is in our backyard too. I think that's what's most important. So many things are overseas but this is here at home. It's right next door. It's around us. So thank you, Gustavo, for joining us.
Hey, gracias.
And
thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Yes. And Gustavo Arellano is a columnist at LA Times. So be sure to read his columns and follow him on what's your social media handle?
Oh, just subscribe to my newsletter. Go to gustavoarellano.org. That's where I put everything that I've done for the previous week. And I also put my food item of the week and other random tomfoolery.
Yes, and also show up on Tuesday nights, because Tuesday nights is for
Grítale Guti. That's where I take your questions about whatever live. My Instagram handle is Gustavo_Arellano. But literally, that's it. Everything else is just
that's on Instagram.
Photos of La Virgen de Guadalupe. That's the rest. That's all I devote my Instagram account to nowadays.
Right. So when you show up, make sure you follow the rules.
Yes, there are rules and the Constitution for Grítale Guti. All questions must go in the thought bubble. No questions in the comment section.
Always in the thought bubble.
You only get one question per session, too. If not, I will reprimand you along with the rest of the Guti gang.
All right, Gustavo. So we'll have you on here again under better circumstances, hopefully.
Cuando quieran y a su servicio. And thank you again for doing what you do, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for tuning in to the Taqueando podcast this week. And be sure to tune in next week for another episode. And please leave us a rating or review wherever you listen to your podcasts.